Hello, everyone. Just another thought or two about this document, Declaration of Rights of Man, Citizen. I focus on what I find to be the most compelling and interesting and relevant right that is enumerated here in this document. But I think the idea of reading is just having some sense of what sort of document it is, taking place during the French Revolution, which is this ongoing process where the French people are overthrowing, in the process of eliminating their form of government. That's what a revolution is, and replacing it with another. That form of government that they're eliminating is monarchy, ruled by a king, and replacing it with something else, which is evolving. Of course, in the previous decade, the Americans had established a republic, a self-governing republic in North America, throwing off the rule of a monarchy of Great Britain. And the French are in the process of doing something, I think, more complicated and took longer to evolve. And French history is a very complicated thing. But this document is a document that is set out to be kind of a constitution, or a kind of at least an enumeration of rights, similar to the American Bill of Rights in the beginning of the Constitution, American Constitution. So I think the idea is just to read it and to get a sense of what sort of rights and what sort of concerns these people had at this time, and sort of things that they're saying. I did that in the last video, but I thought this is from the preamble to it, before the enumeration of the different principles, where they say ignorance, neglect, or contempt of human rights are the sole causes of public misfortunes and corruptions of government. I just found this, this is pretty important. I don't know the history of the expression human rights. I couldn't tell you what, when it was first articulated. May have been long before this, but this seems to me to be an early and influential use of that term, human rights. That there even are such things is, if not an entirely new idea, a newly relevant, or really a new idea in the 18th century. The idea that there are rights that human beings have just by virtue of being human beings, and that these rights are inalienable. That is, they cannot be given over, they cannot be given away, taken away, that they are natural rights that human beings have, is very much an Enlightenment idea, an idea that Kant would most likely, I don't know, have sympathy for, but it was an incredibly important idea. And this idea that our rights do not come from God, really, or religion, or they don't come from being a member of a privileged group, but they come just because they come with us along with our humanity. That there are such things as human rights. And along with the idea of free speech, which is definitely covered here, as you'll see, reading through the different the different rights that are declared. But that coming along with being a human being are certain rights, and that the governments are set up to protect these rights, and they also serve as the limits of governmental power. Is an incredibly important modern idea that at least, we'll see. There's a great controversy in this document, who it covers. Does it cover all human beings who live in France? Does it cover just men and not women? What about the foreign slaves of foreigners, like Thomas Jefferson, who brought along his slaves and was living in the American Thomas Jefferson, of course, living in France with personal slaves? Are they free? All sorts of questions arise. If these are human rights, they should apply to all human beings. But that obviously wasn't always the case, but at least the rhetoric. And the idea that builds in modern history to our day, the idea that all human beings are equal and have these natural rights, which are all the same, and that every one of us deserves protection, and that violation of these rights human rights violations are a very, very serious matter. And in a certain respect, what modern politics is all about is protecting human rights. And here we have a very early enumeration of what those rights are. So I thought that was interesting and important to keep in mind, this new idea of human rights that are not granted to you because of religion or granted to you because of your membership in a particular group, but rights that you have naturally just as a human being. It couldn't be a more important, I think, idea in modern social thinking.